The 2008-2009 season will go down in the history of Brentford Football Club as the Bees claimed the League Two title after a gruelling 46 games.
I think the biggest thing about that group is that they were so easy to manage. There were some really key leaders in the group. When you look at Kevin O'Connor's and your Mark Phillips and your Alan Bennett's and your John Halls and Adam Newton's. They're really strong characters, but no ego. Drove the dressing room.
Yeah, I mean, he got a real good blend, and he's got in terms of the players he brought in. We had some good experience. We had some players, obviously, that I knew before I even got there as well. From playing against when I was a young lad. Adam Newton, he was at West Ham coming through, same age as me when I was at Charlton. Paulie played against him in non-league when he was at Gray. Sam Wood as well as another lad.
So we were all a new group of boys. But from the off, we really got on well. It was a real good change room, I'd call it, and everyone had a great work ethic. Everyone was tried their hardest, and it kind of just gelled pretty early on. We had that never say die kind of attitude, where even though games wouldn't have gone too well, like a season, there's ups and downs the whole season. We always stuck together, and Andy led the ship really, really well with him and Terry, and the whole kind of backroom staff, Alistair, Dave, obviously Dave the kitman as well. It was a real kind of tight knit group, and that set us up really, really well to start the season well and then go on.
If you speak to anybody in the group, they'll all be the same. I think you get that with a winning squad, and some teams that have won things, especially with us, because we didn't have any individuals. We had talented players, but at that time, I mean, none of us made team of the season. I think that speaks volumes really for us, because we were a good bunch of boys. We all got on off the pitch. We all lived near each other. And like I said, when Scotty maybe didn't get a recruitment right and he wasn't quite right for the group, straight away we kind of just take him out. If it was a loan player, they'd be going back. He was very, very cautious of what we had there.
I remember we had someone coming on loan, and on the first day, it was a Tuesday, they trained, and we did our usual training session, and at the end of it, we did these runs that we did every Tuesday, and we had to get it under a certain time. If you didn't get it, it was hitting targets and making people competitive and making sure people were at the levels that they're at to. And this player started moaning to the rest of the players, and about six of the players just rounded him and went, "That's what we do here. You either do it or you." And that me and Bully didn't even find this out until a couple of days later or whatever, and you see that the mentality of the group was driven from within the group.
All of us, Dave the kitman, were very. It's funny, isn't it, until you look back, you can realise what you really had and how effortless it was, but how unique it is to come across something like that.
Andy Scott and Terry Bullivant, they got their recruitment spot on, and the change room was brilliant. There was no real cliques or anything like that. Everyone was in it together. Used to have team nights out, and it was really, really good. It was a very, very enjoyable season.
I think that all came from having come in January and seeing what group we had and realising that we needed to change that, that people, and we got Beanie in training with us from Blackpool at the end of the season, and that was a real key difference, that we were able to bring in some really good characters. I don't think I realised how good they were. And that was probably one of my biggest regrets in terms of moving forward with the group, is that I didn't really give all those lads enough chance in League One, and they deserved that. And it was only afterwards that you realised that the players we brought in, although they were earning a little bit more money, they weren't better people and they weren't better players. So I think that you may be right. I think it's on reflection you realise how good that group were, not just as individuals but as a team.
I thought he's made a few good signings here, and then Beanie come through the door, and I thought, no, he's decent. And I looked, and I kind of thought, well, we've got a good squad here, because I knew the players. I didn't know people. So I'm saying his recruitment, Charlie Mack, Elder, who come in the previous season towards the end, players that you just wouldn't have known, but were unbelievable finds. Myself, Hamer, you know, he managed, Sam Wood, obviously, like he managed to find players. So people on paper would have looked at them and been like, well, we don't know any of them, so they didn't know what to expect. But we obviously did, because we knew. I knew we still had enough, really, of quality along with legs to challenge. But yeah, like you said, I think it took us a little while to get going. And then once we knew how we wanted to play and what we were about, I think our togetherness and that fitness, and we demanded a lot from each other. There wasn't a lot of lads who missed training, probably me more than anybody. I think Kev did a little bit that season, which is rare for him. But they were a fit bunch of lads as well.
We were just taking every game as it come. We prepared well on the training pitch, and Andy set up some real good sessions that got us physically right, and also quite very well organised as well. So we were solid at the back. We didn't concede too many goals, and we picked goals up at crucial times. So we were really taking every game as it comes, and I think that's a real strength, that we didn't know how good we were. I don't think the crowd or the Brentford club knew actually how well we were doing. It's almost just like this was a transition year, and the club was kind of, it was nice to see the club doing well again. So we kind of went under the radar.
Been a couple of lads that we thought, do you know what, had some unbelievable personalities, like some real jokers, and we all had such a laugh together. But I don't think we really foresaw how the season was going to go.
Yeah, I think obviously when I first got to the club, I think I joined halfway through pre-season, but you could see the foundations that were set from the off, like in terms of work ethic and a hard graft. And you know, that's one thing we was a real fit side, and we had a never say die attitude. So we'd always go right to the end. We knew we could outgrind teams and outrun teams, and I think that was the main thing. We did a lot of work in pre-season, physical work.
Just as you sort of put pieces together, it just comes together. You know, we worked very hard, and we knew that we needed to be more capable physically. You know, we knew that we certainly weren't going to spend more money than anyone else, but we knew that we had a group of players that were going to be fitter, stronger, mentally stronger than everyone else, and committed to the cause. And we just gave them something to believe in. We worked very hard on the training pitch, and everyone believed in what we were doing, and that's such a strong element to any team that's going to be successful. The one similarity between all the players, they're hungry. They had a point to prove. You know, Beanie had gone to Blackpool, it hadn't worked out. You know, he made a real decision that he wanted to come and train with us. You know, he didn't have to. He wanted to prove to us at the end of the season in 2008 that he wanted to be with us. And to be able to see him in training for a month, and you know, we knew that we had a good player on our hands. We knew that we would fit into what we were doing, and him and Kevin in the midfield, it just knew we had a good core of our side to build from.
And it's West London. I'm a West London boy, so that made the decision very easy. Andy Scott was enthusiastic. He said he wanted to try and build a team around me. He knew what strengths and what I could bring to the side, and that and obviously being in West London was basically the dream move for me at the time.
Scotty's recruitment was key. He found, me, I was on the scrap heap, to be fair. Body was shot. And Brentford gave me a lifeline, really, and got me going. So I had a massive lifeline, and that was my last straw, really, to get going. And then obviously they got Woody from non-league. Benno, to be fair, was an unknown as well. So he was really good at getting characters. He got the right characters in, but also hungry people. Ben Hamer was a great find, obviously a young goalkeeper. I think he was big on recruiting people, maybe more than what he was playing ability. He had a mindset and a type of person, I feel, that he wanted. And if they didn't fit within that group, they didn't usually last long.
Well, I was quite close to signing for Brentford before I actually signed for Southend. I had a meeting at the time in the close season with Terry Butcher when Terry Butcher was manager. Andy was his number 2.
Charlie McDonald was a key piece. We tried to sign him the year before and it hadn't worked out. He got to Southend and things hadn't worked out for him. But I knew that he would be an exciting piece.
I didn't really get a good feel for Terry Butcher, if I'm honest. He basically said to me he didn't know who I was. He was just going on Andy's recommendation. So I knew from then on that Andy had sort of like put a target on me, knowing that I was one of the players he wanted rather than anyone else. So when Andy did get the job and took over towards the end of that season, and I knew there was still interest the following year, and Brentford were willing to pay for me, it was a no-brainer for me. I wasn't playing as many games as I wanted to at Southend. Didn't really want to drop down again, but I knew I had to really if I was going to go in search of first-team football. So yeah, that was the main thing for me, really.
And the players on loan, Ben Hamer and Alan Bennett, and as the season drew on, you look at the injuries we had, to key players. Jordan Rhodes got injured, Nathan Elder got injured, Charlie McDonald got injured, but we were able to bring in Jordan and Billy Clark and Damien Spencer, and they were all hungry and wanted to prove a point, and they fitted in with the group perfectly. So it's one of those years that you have where everything seems to sort of generally go right for you, and that was because of the group we had, and their mentality and their desire. And that's the same with Sam Wood. We bought Leon Leggin the year after, exactly the same. Desperate to prove themselves at league level, and wanted to go that extra mile, and just loved the experience and wanted to prove that they were good enough. I've got to be honest. A lot of clubs wouldn't have been able to deal with the injuries we had, and we brought in people like Frankie Artis. We brought in Josh Wright. We put in, players that probably people have forgotten about, but they all contributed really well and had a massive impact on the group. And testament to that was, that we invited them all away when we went away at the end of the season, and the majority of them came, and it's as if they'd never been away. But that was hugely down to recruitment. We researched our players. We didn't want to bring anyone in, and the term at the moment and is no, but that's the way we saw it. We knew that we would have to work hard to do well. We didn't have we didn't think we were going to win the league. We thought that if we did well, we could get in the playoffs and we could have a push. But as the season progressed, and we lost at Bury, and then we lost at Swansea, but then we went on a 12-game unbeaten run where, well, hang on a minute, yeah, we're not bad here. We're not blowing teams away, but we were competitive in every single match, and we had that drive to be able to get over the line one way or the other, and that's the sign of a good side, really.
I think it's when you're in that position and you're doing well, I think it's always the way. There is something that's going to go wrong at some point. I think with my injury, I was lucky to come back just towards like the final game of the season, and I was itching to get on. And he said to me, look, if I can, I'll put you on for like 5 minutes if we're comfortable. But then I know he was worried about my injury as well. And, all it takes is one knock and you're kind of back down where you started. But I think we were lucky in the sense of, we had that mentality where if someone came out, someone who went back in was just giving just as much effort. So that kind of pushed us through.
Nathan was first with the game away at Rotherham, I think it was, when he got done by Pablo Mills with that elbow. Horrible challenge. And we spent a lot of time up there. He went to hospital, had the fractured eye socket cheekbone, and then I think the following week Jordan with his metatarsal. So that ended his loan spell quite prematurely. And then obviously me against Gillingham at home, when I sort of towards the end of the game sort of like had my legs swept and landed on my elbow and my shoulder popped out. So it wasn't great, but what we're thankful of is that Andy Scott got his recruitment right in terms of the replacements, because all the people that come in, Billy Clark and Sam Williams got a couple of important goals as well. And they all sort of picked up where we had started and managed to get us over the line, which was brilliant.
I think everyone had a respect for Scotty, to be fair, even though he was young. I wouldn't say he was scary, but you had that respect for him. And then Bully, his assistant, was full of just knowledge, would say things behind him. We had our young players were extremely hungry, and like I said, we had a lot to prove, the younger ones, so we were desperate really to do well, and we had massive hunger and just loved football. And then he had the good older players that were hitting good ages that were good characters, good leaders. You had Kev, Beanie again was a brilliant find, them two in midfield. And then we had a few characters, Gary Smith, who got injured actually that season, he was an unbelievable footballer and a great character, PD as well. And we had a few of them as well, which helped.
With the Grimsby at home, being thrown straight back in, being thrown in on my debut, and it was brilliant, and I couldn't have asked for a better start, really. managed to probably scored the best goal of my actual career at Brentford, if I would say, in terms of technical detail and that. But yeah, it was a great game, lovely day. Fans were fantastic, and yeah, to end up winning 4-0 on my debut and getting a couple, it was brilliant.
Off the top of my head, thinking last minute at home to Bradford is the one that really springs to mind.
Yeah, I think still that goes down as my favourite game. I think it was 0-0 up until about the 90th minute. I think then Beanie scored, then they scored straight away, and then got that goal, and it was pouring with rain. And it was such a good feeling. But I think that was the day that I must have run really fast to doing knee slides. I never do knee slides, by the way. And where it was raining so much, I just kept going and went straight into the billboards. But it didn't really matter at the time. It was just a good moment.
We had a lot of boys who had a proper effect on the team. You know, even before Woodsy got involved, Glenn Paul was the starting berth on the left-hand side, and you know, his creativity was second to none. He used to chip in with his fair amount of goals as well, and then obviously Woodsy come in and give us a different dimension in terms of his work ethic and doing the ugly side of the game back the other way as well as going forward. So yeah, knowing that we have chances coming in the box from both sides with obviously Adam Newton flying down the right past Marvin and Ryan Dixon down the left past whoever it was, Woodsy or Paulie. Me and Elge, we used to feed off that, and as long as I stayed quite close to him in terms of him anticipating the flick-ons and that, it was a good partnership in that respect, in a way we set up to play.
It was a funny one because we were winning games which, like I said, we'd win games a lot through our effort and teamwork. So I used to go into games. I remember a few times come off the pitch going, I don't know what the score is, but I know we won. Because we were just always, we're in like a mode of, we knew how to play and how to win. I can't really particularly put a finger on a lot of the games. Funny enough, actually, I do remember one away at Chester. It was one of my first games back, actually. It might have been my first game back. He brought me off the bench. We lost 3-0. I think it was 3-0. And I remember I missed a sit out of the header as well. I remember him going nuts, and I thought, I know, I swear, I don't know. Like we could be in a bit of trouble here. I don't know whether that was the time it changed, but I remember losing away at Chester probably wasn't a great thing. And another one, it's funny, I remember the losers. Chesterfield, was it Chester? Macclesfield. I think I got a yellow. I might have given away a pen. I think Ben Hamer and me and Ben, because we were quite close, we were both from the same area. I mean, we both had bad games and cost us really. And Scotty went nuts at us after the game. And those are the two games, funnily enough, that I remember apart from the winning games.
A couple of goals really in that year. I think the Grimsby goal was huge for me because it was my debut goal, and you know how I took it. It was great. Couldn't have asked for a better start in terms of the result as well. But there was one game as well. We played home to Shrewsbury, where I think Marvin Williams got down the right hand side, and as he pulled it across, I managed to sort of take it on the swivel back to goal with my right, and then hit a left foot shot into the far corner, all in sort of one movement. And there was a lot of talk before that game about myself being the one of the main strikers in the league, and Grant Holt being the Shrewsbury main striker in the league as well. And so that one really sticks out for me as well. I think the penalty against Exeter away over Christmas time, where we beat them 2-0, where Sam Wood scored the second goal. I mean, there was crucial goals that always stand out, as whether it's an equaliser or a points goal, really. And they're the ones that really stick out for me in that first season.
I remember Accrington Stanley away. I think it was Jordan Rhodes scored the winner, because we had a few boys that come on loan who done very, very well. I think all from Ipswich. So who was it? Jordan was second, then Billy Clark was third, and there was also, what was his name, Dean Bowditch.
Yeah. And
they all scored real important goals throughout the season. And unfortunately, like Charlie McDonald as well, and they all got injuries at certain points. So it was unfortunate for that, but obviously that was fate. But yeah, Accrington away, I think we nicked. I remember half the pitch was frozen. It was horrific, and we nicked the win, which was to go away on Accrington on a Tuesday night. That was immense.
I didn't really, myself and Bully, we wouldn't allow ourselves. It was next game. The games come thick and fast, and look, we were fighting against injuries, and we were fighting against players, going back from loan or whatever it was, and we were working so hard that I think it was probably that sort of naivety of it, or that just we just kept on going. But after Bournemouth, when it could have gone completely wrong, and leading up to that, we'd had a bad month, and we were, we needed that result badly in front of a huge crowd, sunny day, down to 10 men. We've got 2 players fighting each other on the pitch just after half time, and we went for it. We kept the 2 up front. Sam Williams, who obviously, and there was another really good loan for us, and Billy Clark scored the goal, and went with the 3 midfield, and Beanie, Kevin, and Sam Wood were just immense in midfield. But Dicko probably ran about 20 miles that day, and I believe that when we went down to 10 men in that game, and we showed that resilience, that wasn't just about that 10 men, it was about our group.
We were down maybe to 10 men, because there's a little bit of an alteration. I think it was Powley obviously got sent off. And to be fair, Bournemouth were a good side, good crowd, good club. And it was a game I think we needed to win, and we were 1-0 up. Billy Clark, again, Recruitment, brilliant signing. He was outrageous for us. And yeah, picked it up, and we didn't have anyone really down the field to pass to, so I just carried on running. And basically, might as well have opened the gate, and I just sort of ran out, because I think I remember getting to the byline, trying to put my foot on it, and it just rolled under my foot, and I was like, I just went out for a goal kick, and the fans obviously went mad. But yeah, it took a bit of pressure off us. It was just, I think, one of those days which I think everyone really remembers.
Crazy day. Honestly, I'll genuinely never forget that day, because it was I was in the dressing room with the boys first, and I had my partner and my oldest boy as well, and I sort of said, where we sit in, and they said, look, you can either sit down here or you can go up in the stand. And I said, we'll go up in the stand. Like, it's a lovely stadium, it was a beautiful day, so we'll go up in the stand. And even walking from the bottom step to the top, got like a round of applause, and it was quite overwhelming, to be fair. And then I think at half time I had to go to the toilet, and obviously when you go to the toilet you have to go into the actual stadium where the bar is and stuff, and it was just carnage. Like, I think we were getting mobbed, and everyone shaking your hands and giving you a pat on the back and photos and stuff. And that kind of epitomises the club. It's that type of club where when you're wearing that shirt, if you give as much as you can, you will get just as much and more back. And there's still, like, I think there's a photo floating around of me and 3 of the fans that someone sent to me on Twitter, like probably about a couple of months ago, actually. And it just made me smile. It just made me smile. It was a great time.
The celebration in front of the fans at Bournemouth is my screensaver on my phone. And that's probably the proudest I've been, regardless of the promotion and stuff like that. I think just in the circumstances, the run we'd been on, we had a 4-week spell where it wasn't great, and we could have gone either way. We took enormous amounts of fans down. The sun was shining on them, and they got us over the line. And when you're part of, or you're leading a group of players, and you see that commitment, and you see it from the fans, it's a very proud moment that you are part of that, and you feel like you're responsible for all those people, and seeing their faces and how happy they are. And they pay a lot of money to follow the club around, and Brentford fans have been through a lot of tough times and had done the years leading up to that. And so yeah, it's really important to show that commitment and show the passion from myself as well, and how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Darlington was a special day. I don't think anyone will ever forget that. Yeah, we were passing into obviously Darlington's a massive stadium, and the Bees fans were making a noise. We walked onto that pitch like we'd won the game already. I don't know. You just had this inner feeling that you'd done it already. There was nothing that Darling could. Me personally, there was nothing that they could have done that day to stop us taking that 3 points. That they could have built a brick wall, they could build a Donald Trump wall, whatever they wanted. We were taking them 3 points, and I think that was pretty apparent from the first whistle. And the celebrations were obviously legendary. Jumping around on the pitch to the Brentford fans. I still remember, and like, fair play to them guys who weren't, because they were part of the celebrations. And I remember looking at everyone in their faces, and we were jumping up and down on the pitch, and they're jumping up and down on the stands. It was a real good celebration together. And then we obviously went back to got some booze on the way home, and then got carried overhead from the coach outside Griffin Park down to the is it the Griffin pub on the corner?
Yeah, that was brilliant. I mean, that whole week, like you say, Darlington was some day. We had Damien Spencer on the back of the coach, who'd been poleaxed by Alan White, and it really led to his sending off. But obviously, a bad injury for Damien. We stopped off at a Tesco's, I think it was, in round the corner from. We bought loads of beers and drink for the lads. We knew it was going to be a long journey, but it was great to have that time on the coach with your players, knowing that we'd achieved something that we probably never even thought we could do. But then it started filtering back from Griffin Park. There was a lot of people waiting for us, and then we were literally carried off the coach. And the next few days were a bit of a haze. I had all the staff round for mine on the Sunday for a barbecue, and we just kept on going. And we spoke to the lads and wanted to give them a few days off, but they didn't want days off. They wanted to come in and wanted to be with each other and enjoy the moment. And then against Luton, and we just carried on from where we left off, and beautiful sunny day, and we all get to celebrate with the fans at home, knowing that we'd done the job. So it's just a brilliant week, really. That was a fantastic week, knowing that we'd won the league, but we still had one home game to go, and finishing off at Griffin Park was brilliant. The celebrations at the end, all the fans on the pitch, and it's just real good memories.